Hey folks, so today we're talking about color comps. Now, color comps or color roughs are something I put a lot of value in. How colors set the mood. They often tell as much of a story as the drawing itself does. And for me, color choice has never really been something I've taken lightly, but I have developed over the last many years certain palettes and strategies I like to use more often than not. So I'll be going over the types of color comps, where and when I would use them, easy methods for choosing colors, that's probably the part everybody likes, a little bit of unity and variety, and a little bit of a demo where I paint a color comp. Here are just some general color comp examples, and the first type that kind of captures what they are, and that's doing iterations off of one drawing or one design, trying out different color schemes. Now this can apply in a few different ways. They can either be literally just a palette swap where you're just switching, is this going to be green or blue, to straight up different lighting scenarios. Now see, in this, the light is more or less all the same. It's kind of all coming from the sky and more or less all in the background. So that means none of these are really front lit, none of these are lit from the right side versus the left. They're simply straight up color variants depicting different moods. And sometimes these are great if you're not sure what direction to go in with scenes. They help you choose what you don't like. They're a great way of help finding what you're not into for a particular scene. But often enough, it's great to just start by choosing colors that fit the mood. The last major type is where my former student James here actually kind of painted up different weathers to go with different lighting schemes. I mean, he actually in this case straight up changed the context entirely. So it's kind of doing iterations off of one and the same overall idea. So it's kind of like that last tier in terms of difficulty in regards to approaching these. Now, fundamentally, the entirely different type of color comp is just the color sketch itself. That's what I've done here. That's what I'll be showing today. And it's just another way of thumbnailing. It's another way of coming up with compositions and scenes. And it's just iterating through very quick color sketches. Now, what is the difference between one of these color sketches and something a little bit more finished? Well, in this case that you can see here, 30 minutes versus kind of like 3 or 4 hours, give or take. But it's the same idea. Nothing really fundamentally changes, except for I get to get in there and fuss with a lot more. I get to be nitpicky with a lot more, trying to bring out the idea's true potential. So yeah, it's kind of like a fun way. Now, what could separate a 3 to 4 hour painting from a 10-hour one is a lot of little subtleties, a lot of detail, the brushwork, all that fine little smaller things, but structurally it wouldn't change at all. In fact, you probably wouldn't see a difference at all at this level of zoom. Now, sometimes in regards to these, a little bit more can change. So see, we can see this color comp here, which again was like 20 to 30 minutes. And then from here, I went to this one, which is, a little bit of the compositions change. I've added mountains, I've added a little bit more lighting, fine-tuned some of the shapes. And often if I get there, along the way, I'll have additional ideas, right? Additional iterations and alterations. So in that case, it's like, what is this scene look like if I put giant roots with some unique sort of trees kind of embracing them? And that's what led me to this. And it's like you can keep doing ideas off each other in some cases as you gradually kind of build them up. So yeah, there's a couple different takes on color comps and different scenarios in which we may or may not want to use them. The other huge benefit of doing these is, since I'm not really committing a long time to any of them, I don't have an attachment for them. They're all basically throwaway ideas or expendable. So what I often do is I combine my favorite aspects from multiple comps into newer comps, and then if I really like that, I can either iterate off that or bring it up to a further level of finish. Now, in regards to how we can pick and select color from these and keep it relatively simple for almost anybody in any experience level, the first thing that we really got to do is limit our color choices. So I picked up, as you can see above each of the comps, some various color swatches, and these will be representing the dominant, the subdominant, and the accent, or the the tertiary. And to really what I want to sum up here is that I like to go and use this phrase ever since I've heard it, is most, some, and a bit, or a lot, some, and a little, right? So most of the colors should be of the same temperature. That's warm or cool. Most of the colors should be relatively the same value, so light or dark. So again, when I'm starting a color comp like this, I like to ask myself, is the image going to be in the light or is it going to be in the shadow? And then therefore I'll take it one step further, 70% light, 30% shadow, or 70% shadow, 30% light. I like to break it in that ratio. And then the last, most of my colors, or most of your colors, the intensity should be relatively the same. And this will go with value. And that's bright or dark, right? Are we making a bright or dark image? Or is it going to be a little bit softer? Some of your colors should contrast that first set. So you can see that really pull into effect with these. Like the first one, if we're going with orangey yellow, then blue is a great contrast to that. Or in this case, right, it's blue and some like maroon, or like some vermilion with red, or yellow and purple, right? Warm or cool. They're really good ways to contrast, but not all the colors should, or not most of them should, right? Because then we'll have too much variety without unity. But there should be some contrast usually. That often leads to very successful color comps. And then a bit of your colors should contrast absolutely everything. This is a little bit harder to put on display here, but I think this comp here serves this best in that I have, yellow and purple, and then the accent here is red, or like the accent in this one, which is a little bit more of a neutral yellow, or the accent in this is a very high, very light blue. So it can vary. It can be more extreme, and it can be a little bit more reserved. But again, the easy way to take away from this is just pick a macro and a micro color to go with. I'm going to go mostly blue, or mostly green, and then kind of trickle it down from there. So see guys, what we have here is too much variety, right? And it lacks unity. So how we can organize this, or how we can make it more visually, pleasing for the eyes, because this is very loud, right? So what we need to do often is just use neutrals or grays. So if we take a load of saturation out of there, right, like that works. And it's almost, if we colorize it, so if we add, for example, just like one string of color to it, it all becomes fairly red. And we can make that even worse, right, if we completely desaturate everything and then just add one color string to it. So that would be, in this case, red. So that's monochromatic. So it's too much unity. So, right, too much variety, too much unity. But if we had something like this, and I kind of poke a hole through the layer, and we just have like a splash of color, right, with all these other ones, like that becomes okay, because our eye knows where to focus, it knows where to look. And so this is unity with variety. Well. Alright, so now let's do a little demo. Now, as you saw when I just came into this, that was approximately the actual size I do these at. So very, very small on my screen, forces me to use a bigger brush and get these done ridiculously quick. This one in particular, again, I was trying to force a time limit, about 32 minutes. So most of my colors in this one are going to be relatively cool. I'm going to go for most of my colors being in the bluish purple, right? Two analogous colors that get along pretty well, blue and purple. I'll be contrasting those two by having some of my colors be, a little bit more of the yellow, and a bit of the colors will contrast everything, being a little bit more of the orangey red. So you'll see me integrate that ratio throughout this. But what I like to start off with a lot of these is to block out the major masses and major shapes with their default, their average shadow color. So see, like this is almost, until I really come in with a little bit more yellow there, these are like the average shadow color. So this big object, I'm starting out with purple, I'm dropping in orange. There's a lot of colors here. This is ultimately, I think, going to be pretty much like a white object. That's what I've been doing a lot of these color sketches with these kind of white ruins. You can kind of see a hint of that up in the upper left. But this is a great way to practice a lot of things. Just setting up simple compositions like this with basic, more or less, geometric shapes with some cutout, sort of objects into it, because it just forces you to think, much greater. You're just thinking of forms, shapes, and how lighting could possibly affect that. And that's often what I recommend for a lot of people to do to practice these. So right, they're not about detail. These are very stress-free. I'm not doing these to like stress myself out. I don't care how clean they are. They just need to read and get their job done. And so, again, if an object's going to be white, the last color I'm going to use is white. The last color I'm going to start with is even white. I like to often just build these things up. And digitally, of course, I like to go from my darks, the average shadow color, to the lights, the average light color. And I do that for every medium I've ever worked in for the most part, except for something like maybe like acrylic or watercolor. You're going to want to directly probably, you have to go from light to dark. But yeah, digitally, this has always been my jam. So I'm going with this is all going to be in the shadow. I'm going to just drop some direct light, almost like a spotlight, from right over it. And we're going to bathe that light coming all the way down this superstructure, these ancient ruins, and then hitting that beach kind of right in the front. So a lot of these it looks like there's a lot of color in it, but their actual intensity is fairly low. These are neutrals. The color and light is all about your neutral game. If you can really do well and be efficient with the neutrals, you're going to do just fine overall. But yeah, I'm really just thinking of these big areas and these big shapes of colors. And so I'm asking myself these are all relatively, lighter colors overall, but I'm trying to portray this as like a shadow. So I'm going to use the blues for that. But the intensity is rather, it's bright, but it's not like super, super saturated. Most of this is going to be relatively cool, though you see me in the bottom, I'm working from warm going up and then cool on top coming down, as it's mostly just kind of like this fill light from the atmosphere, not so much literal direct sunlight. So see, I'm playing with the context of a lot of these colors. I'm trying to add blue on the top, and the blue and shadows, and blue and purple for the shadows for a lot of this, and only in the bottom area where there's a load of bounce light that I'm neutralizing those blues. By neutralizing, I mean I'm taking saturation out of blue, and it's fooling the eye. It's kind of looking like it's a little more yellow and a little bit more orange, but a lot of those can pass in a different context as a cool color themselves. But if we were to really put those next to a really warm color like this, see, they're gonna feel pretty cool. And so really, once I get the structure down like this, I come in with like this airbrush and really just glaze a load of light on top, usually like on an overlay mode, to get a little bit more punch out of things. Now I should mention I've pretty much used all one layer for this, and I've used only one brush, the round brush in Photoshop. You don't need fancy brushes, you don't need lots of techniques and complicated things. Now, keep it simple, limit your colors, limit your brushes. You'll be in a much better position to do these. You won't be fussing with like a lot of the intricacies and complexities that digital painting usually comes with. And it's also, I had to put as a disclaimer, I'm doing these in color because I have a lot of experience with color. I'm doing these in color because I understand how values work. Colors look amazing. They get all the credit. But, a lot of us know it's really the values that are doing all the work under that hood. So you do got to know your values to be able to kind of efficiently do these. But again, it's a great way to loosen up. It's a great way to just, sketch. And if you're not confident with color, it's a great way to get quite a bit more familiar with color. So in the cases of this project that I'm doing, it's mostly seascapes, it's large ancient ruins, and that's my theme. And I'm just playing with that. And I'm 20 comps into that. Not quite fatigued yet. I got a lot more ideas, but we'll see where it goes. All right. So thank you for watching, up to this point. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions down below, of course, in regards to this. I don't know what I could what I might cover next in regards to some of this color stuff I've been talking about. Oh, I did want to apologize first off for the audio in the last video while I'm here. It was off. I'm in a rush as I normally am. I didn't play it back. The audio was really imbalanced. Hard to hear my voice. I am sorry for that, as like 50 of you pointed out. But yeah, here we go. Just doing color, adding the last touches. Going to drop in some water over that beach. I wasn't originally, but I was like looking at it, at this stage, I'm like, that would look really rad. Again, if I'm playing up with a bit of these colors are playing up to the accent, and that accent's going to be that green. There's already a load of blue. It's a bluish green, so it's playing well with its friends. But yeah, see you guys next time, and do take care. But anyways, guys, in regards to other updates, I do plan on officially launching the Patreon in maybe a week or two. I'm just testing things out with it. I'm uploading things. I'm making sure everything's working right. Double checking all the links I'm setting up. Basically, at launch, I'll just have two primary tiers, the Pro and the Plus that you guys see there. It's going to be a massive database or archive for a lot of the content I've produced for classes and my students over the year. So I'm going to constantly just upload, new tutorials. Some will be short, one-off little things on a particular subject. Some will be a little bit more longer or more thorough. There'll be video blog aspects to it where I'll go behind the scenes and I'll just record stuff that I would never put on YouTube. And I'm going to include as well as exercises, videos, how to do the exercises, and as well as discounts and sales on future things I plan on offering. So yeah, that's a little bit of an overview, and be sure to subscribe or hit up my newsletter on my website for more updates. Take care.